We are here at the Oklahoma Video Game Expo, and this is the man behind it all, Jesse Hardesty. Jesse, how's it going today?
It's going really good.
Now tell everybody a little bit about the history, because this is the 10-year anniversary of the show.
It is a 10th year anniversary. The OVGE originally started in 2003 under a different name called the OVGE, which, for those that may have gone out to the front lobby, we actually put the old OVGE banner up this year just as kind of a little celebration for the 10th anniversary.
So get this.
Sorry, that's my wife.
Oh, that's okay.
It's not a problem.
If it doesn't want to be on, if it's not an announcement for camera.
You can probably edit it out. You can probably edit it out.
All right.
Anyway, so since then, with the exception of 1 year, which was due to just some personal unforeseen circumstances that I wasn't able to make it happen. 2007 is the only year we missed, but otherwise, it's been an annual event, and this is our 10th time doing it. So it's technically our 10th anniversary.
Mm-hmm. And every year in Tulsa.
And it's been every year in the Tulsa area, yes.
But different locations in Tulsa throughout.
Yeah, we've actually used 3 different venues. The first one was in a very small conference room, about 2,500 square feet, back when we used to have a Hilton here in the Tulsa area. And it was very well received. It was kind of a free event. I foot the bill for that one because I had the finances to do so at the time. And it was an experiment. I didn't want anyone else to invest any money in something that didn't happen or there wasn't any interest in. So I was willing to take the hit and the loss on that just to gauge, is there an interest? And there was. And now here we are 10 years later. And yes, so since then, it's basically been in a little bit larger venues each time. And currently, it's still not a huge event, but it's a very personal event, and it's a really cool event. But yeah, currently we're at the Spirit Bank Event Center. May have to look for other venues just for expansion possibilities.
And yeah, also the expansion for the different amount of things that are being offered, because now you've got bands performing live.
This is true.
So yeah, and the One-Ups did a fabulous show. We got to give kudos to them.
We love it when the One-Ups come. The One-Ups kind of come as a favor. They know that the audience here really appreciates them, and they like that a lot. And they also like the smaller...
the intimate space.
The intimate space. They do like that intimate space. It's their target. It's really the target audience that's here that they are really creating their music for.
Yeah, gamers playing music for gamers.
Gamers playing music for gamers, and yeah, exactly. So it's great. We have a lot of fun.
So what would you say is the biggest change from like year one to year now?
Well, actually, the biggest change is one of how easier it's become every year. The very first year, had no idea what I was doing. I mean, who really does? If you've never done it before, you don't know. And I didn't know. I've merely observed really well from previous CGEs and other events that I'd heard about to just kind of see, how do you go about this? What would it take? At this point in time, it's a lot easier to organize and to get things together. Number one, because I have more people, of course, or I've got the same people I can always contact that I can pretty much always be pretty sure they're going to have a table. But even then, just because more and more people come out every year, more and more word gets out. So marketing gets to be a little easier for it to try to help promote the event, things like that.
What would you say is the furthest somebody's traveled? I mean, I know I come 7 hours, but I'm sure people come from even farther than that.
Yes. Actually, in 2004, the very second year we hosted the event, we had a vendor come out from the California area known as Messiah Entertainment. Some of those might remember the name from the NEX unit, which was one of the first Nintendo on a chip units that was retroized. They also created some wireless controllers for both the NES and the Super NES.
Yes, I have both sets.
Yeah, both sets. And they gave away, as a door prize that year, one of their prototype SNES wireless controllers, because they weren't quite ready mainstream to sell, but they had a couple on hand, and we gave one away as a door prize. That was really cool. Additionally, I want to say it was in 2010, I believe it was, or 2009 maybe, we had a vendor come from Maryland. And that was Mad Gear. Carlson Stevens. He deals with a lot of imports, especially TurboGrafx imports. He was very well received.
Yeah.
A large display.
In fact, Mad Gear was scheduled this year, but I guess something came up at the last minute.
There was a scheduling conflict, so about a month or so ago, Carlson let me know that he wasn't going to be able to make it, so I actually took his table out of the layout. It actually kind of worked out a little bit better, gave us everyone a little more space, and we were still able to make everything happen as we always do.
So you've talked about how it's gotten easier over the years because of your experience, but what are the challenges for people who are looking into this themselves?
Well, the challenge is, number one, negotiation. You got to find a venue that's going to have everything that you need, not just the space. There's other little things you got to think about. How are the power outlets laid out? How easy is it to load and unload from whatever their service docks might be? You know, you see some events, they got plenty of space, but it's like on a second level floor. How do you get something like arcade cabs or very large displays up there? You have to use a service elevator. Okay, that means one machine at a time kind of thing. So there's a lot of things you got to gauge, and you don't really initially think about until you've done a few of these and you've gone through some of those challenges yourself. Additionally, the other challenging thing is, again, getting the word of mouth out there. You know, trying to get your interested audience to want to come to your event. And especially now, as we know, the retro gaming scene is starting to pick up quite a bit now. Again, it did before about 10 years ago when it first started, and it's doing it again.
It seems to be a little cyclical.
It is cyclical. That's exactly right. And so it can be trickier to try to differentiate yourself from other like cons and conventions. You know, so that can also be a challenge.
But I heard you say this earlier today that you've maintained the focus on gaming because, you know, there are so many cons that try to do gaming and comics and combine everything anime all together.
One of the things that I think makes the Oklahoma Video Game Exhibition unique from the others, yes, we have arcade capsules, so do they. Yes, we have vendors, so do they. Yes, we have or gaming consoles, computers and stuff set up, and so do they. But most of the larger venues are strictly vendor shows. They've got vendors from all over. I'm not saying that there's nothing excellent. They bring excellent stuff to show and display. But the OVGE has a lot of the common guy too. A lot of the everyday Joes like myself, yourself, who bring up stuff just for people to play around with. You know,
Like Earl and his Odysseys.
Exactly. Earl's not here to sell. He's here because he likes to hook up his old Odyssey and show people where this history began. A lot of people get a trick or get a kick out of playing this two-paddle this device, and they're like, how did this ever become a playable system?
Yeah.
Well, it didn't, which is why eventually you have things like the Ataris and your Nintendos. But it's where the roots of these things started from. Just like how I had to learn how to become more efficient in hosting gaming conventions, so too did the gaming systems of our very young youth evolve into the photorealistic movie productions that they are today.
Yeah, that's something Earl and I talked about earlier, is people don't know the history of going from pixel graphics and 4K of memory to the multi-dimensional realistic that we have now.
Exactly. And that's something that it will never be lost. We always have those of us who are going to record it and keep track of this stuff, and it'll always be in the history books.
But it's
what's
about getting
important is people aren't going to appreciate that.
Right, we
unless
need
they
to
can
get
actually see it.
Right, they need to touch it, feel it, know it, hear about it from people who lived it. So
Absolutely.
Right. So, any closing thoughts you would like to offer? You know, next year's show, this year's show.
Well, I never like to give any preemptive stuff on a next year's show because I never know until other things have gone by and what's happened. I can tell you that we'll have to be looking towards another venue for next year, so there's going to have to be my favorite negotiation. Never a fun time. And again, looking to see how the facilities are laid out and just the logistics of things. But we'll have to see as far as for next year. But I know that, you know, I'm going to be gathering ideas from other vendors and exhibitors from this year's show just to kind of see what they think we need to improve on, what maybe we should try to add more of, things like that. I do think that a big draw this year was the increased focus on classic arcades. In the past, we've had some pinball machines and some arcade games. Sometimes there were more modern games, you know, like your Area 51s or some of your late era fighting style games, things like that. This year we had a lot of classic arcade uprights. Blacks, we had Commando, the Donkey Kong Jr., a lot of stuff like that. It was a really nice looking arcade too. It was a lot of fun. So I think that's also very important.
And so, information if people want to find out more about the expo, not just from this video, where all the places they can go online, Facebook, website, social media, all that stuff.
Exactly. We do have a Facebook page devoted to the event. We do have a dedicated website now, thankfully being currently hosted by Earl's, thelogbook.com. Thank you again, Earl.
But OVGE.com will take you to the logbook.
OVGE.com will take you to the logbook. That's where it's hosted at, so it shows up as a logbook initial header in there, but it's still OVGE. And yes, we also have the OVGE Facebook page, which is listed under OK Gaming.
All right. Jesse, thank you very much for the time, and congratulations on another successful event.
It certainly seems that way. A lot of people had fun, and that's what we want.
Absolutely.